I was working at a train station in Munich when an American family ran up to my counter looking panicked. The dad asked where the metal detectors were. I asked what he meant. He said the security screening for the train. I told him there isn't any. You just get on. He stared at me like I'd told him the trains run on magic. He asked how they keep people safe. I said, we just trust people not to bring dangerous things on trains. His wife pulled him aside and whispered that maybe it was a European thing. They walked toward the platform looking back at me every few steps, like they were expecting security guards to appear. My friend works at a bus depot in Amsterdam. An American tourist came up asking for a bus schedule. She handed him one. He looked at it and said it must be wrong because the times were in military format. She explained that's just 24-hour time. He said he couldn't read military time and asked if they had a normal schedule. She said that is the normal schedule here. He asked why Europeans use military time if they're not in the military. She didn't really have an answer for that. He took a picture of the schedule and said he'd convert it later on his phone. I worked the ticket counter at a metro station in Paris. An American asked how much a ride cost. I told him €1.90. He pulled out a €20 note. I gave him change. He asked where he validates his ticket. I pointed to the validation machine. He asked why he needed to validate it if he already paid. I explained that you buy the ticket, then validate it before boarding. He said that seemed like two unnecessary steps. He asked why they don't just combine them. I said that's how the system works. He walked away muttering about inefficiency. 5 minutes later, he came back saying he got fined because he forgot to validate. He wanted a refund. I told him the fine was for not validating. He said the system was designed to trick tourists. A conductor in Switzerland told me about an American passenger who refused to move to second class, even though he had a second-class ticket. The American said he was sitting in first class because the seats were empty. The conductor explained he needed a first-class ticket to sit there. The guy said that was stupid because the seats weren't being used anyway. The conductor said those seats are for first-class passengers. The American said that in the US, if seats are empty, you can sit anywhere. The conductor told him this isn't the US. The guy moved but left a review online saying Swiss trains have too many rules. These things happen constantly. Americans show up expecting public transport to work like driving a car. When it doesn't, they get confused. They don't understand why there are schedules or zones or different ticket types. They assume it should be simpler. And then they're shocked when it's not. I was helping customers at a railway station in Brussels. An American couple came up saying their tickets didn't work. I asked what happened. They said they tried to use them on 3 different trains, but the conductor kept saying they were invalid. I looked at the tickets. They were for the previous day. I explained that train tickets are usually date-specific. The woman said that's ridiculous, because they paid for the tickets. I told her yes, but for yesterday's train. She said they didn't know they had to use them on the exact day. Her husband asked if they could just use them now since they already paid. I said no, they'd need new tickets. He said this would never happen in America. I didn't mention that Amtrak tickets are also date-specific. A metro worker in Barcelona told me an American tried to use the same ticket 4 times. The gates rejected it after the first use. He kept trying, getting more frustrated each time. She came over and explained that metro tickets are single-use. He said he bought 10 trips. She said no, he bought 1 ticket. He showed her the receipt. He'd bought a single ticket, not a multi-ride card. She explained the difference. He said the machine didn't make that clear. She offered to show him how to buy the right ticket. He said he'd just walk instead because the metro was too complicated. My friend works at a tram stop in Prague. An American got on without a ticket and seemed confused when the inspector asked to see it. The guy said he'd pay on the tram. The inspector said you have to buy tickets before boarding. The American asked where you buy them. The inspector pointed to the ticket machine at the stop. The guy said he didn't see it. The inspector said it's right there with the big sign that says tickets. The American said that in the US, you usually pay when you board. The inspector wrote him a fine. The guy said this was entrapment. I worked at an information desk at London Underground. An American came up frustrated, because his credit card wouldn't work on the Oyster card reader. I asked if he had an Oyster card. He said no. He was trying to tap his regular credit card. I explained he needed either an Oyster card or a contactless card with the right symbol. He showed me his card. It wasn't contactless. I told him he'd need to get an Oyster card. He asked why the London Metro doesn't accept normal cards. I said it does, just contactless ones. He said his card was normal in America. I helped him buy an Oyster card. He asked why London makes everything so difficult. A train attendant in Rome told me about an American who bought a ticket but got on the wrong train. When the conductor checked tickets, the guy showed his. The conductor said this ticket is for a different train. The American said they're both going to Florence. The conductor explained that the ticket is for a specific train at a specific time. The guy said that seemed overly restrictive. The conductor asked if he wanted to buy a new ticket or get off at the next stop. The guy paid for a new ticket and complained the whole way about how Italian trains nickel and dime passengers. I have a friend who works at a bus station in Vienna. An American asked if he could buy a weekly pass. She said yes and told him the price. He asked if it was unlimited rides. She said yes, for 1 week. He bought it and came back 2 hours later saying it didn't work. She asked what happened. He said he tried to use it on the train. She explained it's only for buses and trams within the city. He said the sign said transportation pass. She said yes, city transportation. He said trains are transportation. She agreed but explained that regional trains are separate. He asked how anyone keeps track of all these rules. She said you just learn them. A ticket inspector in Copenhagen told me an American argued with her for 10 minutes about zone fares. He traveled 3 zones but only paid for 2. She explained he owed more money. He said he didn't know there were zones. She said it's explained on the ticket machines. He said he just pressed buttons until something printed. She asked if he read what he was buying. He said no. He assumed it would cover wherever he was going. She explained that you need to select your destination. He paid the difference, but said Danish public transport was designed to confuse people. My cousin works at a metro station in Berlin. An American got stuck in the turnstile because he tried to exit through the entrance. My cousin helped him out and explained which gates are for entering and which are for exiting. The guy said they all looked the same. She pointed to the signs and arrows. He said he didn't see them. She said they're right there in red and green. He said American metros don't have separate gates. She said some do. He said not where he's from. He left through the correct gate, but kept looking back at the signs like they were personally offensive. I was working at a train platform in Lyon. An American asked if his ticket worked on the bus too. I said no, train tickets are separate. He asked why. I said, because they're different services run by different companies. He said that in some US cities, the transit pass works on everything. I said that's nice, but this isn't one ticket for all transport. He asked how he was supposed to know that. I pointed to the signs that explain the ticket types. He said there were too many signs to read them all. I worked at an information desk at a train station in Frankfurt. An American came up saying he missed his train. I asked what happened. He said he showed up at 8:30 for an 8:30 train. I asked if he was at the platform on time. He said he was at the station on time. I explained that you need to be at the platform, not just in the station. He said 8:30 is 8:30. I told him trains leave exactly on time. He said his train was probably just running late. I checked the system. It left at 8:30 exactly. He said that's impossible because he was only 2 minutes late. I explained that 2 minutes late means you missed the train. He said European trains were too punctual. A conductor in Sweden told me an American passenger seemed shocked that the train arrived exactly when the schedule said. The guy kept looking at his watch and then at the platform clock. He asked the conductor if the train was always this on time. The conductor said yes, usually within 1 minute. The American said that would never happen in America. The conductor asked if American trains run late. The guy said sometimes by 10 or 20 minutes. The conductor looked confused about why that would be acceptable. The American said it's just how it is. He seemed almost disappointed that nothing went wrong. My friend works at a bus stop in Oslo. An American waited for 30 minutes and then asked when the next bus was coming. She pointed to the digital sign showing arrival times. He said he'd been watching it, but didn't trust it. She asked why not. He said in America, those signs are usually wrong. She told him this one updates in real time. He said he'd believe it when he saw it. The bus arrived exactly when the sign said. He got on looking surprised. She saw him the next day. He said he was starting to trust Norwegian technology. I was at a metro station in Helsinki. An American asked why the train schedule only showed times every 10 minutes. I said because trains come every 10 minutes. He asked what if he just missed one. I said you wait 10 minutes. He said that's a long time. I told him it's pretty frequent service. He said in New York, trains come every few minutes during rush hour. I said this isn't rush hour or New York. He said 10 minutes was inconvenient. I pointed out that at least you know exactly when the next train comes. He admitted that was better than guessing. A metro worker in Madrid told me about an American who got upset that the metro closed at 1:30 in the morning. He showed up at 2 a.m. and found the gates locked. He banged on them until security came. He demanded to know why the metro was closed. Security explained that it closes at 1:30. He said cities shouldn't close their metros. Security said most cities do. The guy said New York's metro runs all night. Security said Madrid isn't New York. The guy had to take a taxi and left a review saying Madrid had terrible late-night options. I have a friend who works at a tram depot in Budapest. An American called asking what time the first tram runs on Sunday. My friend said 5 a.m. The caller said that's too late. My friend asked what time he needed. The guy said 4 a.m. My friend explained that trams don't run at 4 a.m. The guy asked why not. My friend said because almost nobody needs a tram at 4 a.m. on Sunday. The guy said he did. My friend suggested a taxi. The guy said he shouldn't have to pay for a taxi when there's public transport. My friend said public transport has schedules. The guy hung up. A ticket agent in Zurich told me an American came to the counter asking why his train was late. She checked the board. All trains were on time. She asked which train he was waiting for. He pointed to one that hadn't arrived yet. She said it's not late. It's not scheduled to arrive for 5 more minutes. He said the schedule said 15:43, and it was already 15:44. She explained that trains arrive within a 1-minute window. He said even 1 minute is technically late. She said by that logic, almost everything in life is late. He didn't appreciate the philosophy. My cousin works at a bus station in Krakow. An American asked if the buses run on time even in winter. She said yes. He seemed skeptical. He said that in his city, buses get delayed by snow. She said Polish buses have winter tires and the roads are cleared quickly. He said he'd have to see it to believe it. He came back a week later during a snowstorm. The bus arrived on time. He told my cousin he was impressed. She said they've been dealing with winter for a long time. I was working at a train station in Brussels. An American asked how long the train stops at each station. I said usually 1 to 2 minutes. He said that's not enough time to board. I said it is if you're ready. He said that in America, trains wait longer. I told him these trains need to stay on schedule. He asked what happens if someone needs extra time. I said they should be at the door, ready to board. He seemed to think this was harsh. I explained that trains have tight schedules. He said schedules shouldn't be more important than people. I said the schedule helps everyone get where they need to go. A conductor in Milan told me an American got angry because the train left while he was still buying snacks. The guy ran after the train waving his ticket. The conductor saw him through the window but couldn't stop. The guy filed a complaint saying the conductor saw him and left anyway. The railway company explained that trains can't wait for passengers who aren't on board. The guy said that was inhumane. They offered him a ticket for the next train. He declined and rented a car instead. I worked at a metro station in Stockholm. An American got on a crowded train and started talking loudly on his phone. Everyone stared. He didn't notice. He kept talking for 10 minutes about his business meeting. When he hung up, an elderly Swedish woman told him politely that phone calls on quiet trains are considered rude. He said he wasn't being loud. She said any phone call is loud in a silent space. He said that in America, people talk on trains all the time. She said this isn't America. He got off at the next stop, looking embarrassed. A tram driver in Prague told me an American tried to board through the exit door. She told him to use the entrance. He said he was closer to the exit door. She explained that entrance doors are marked with arrows. He said doors are doors. She said not on Prague trams. He walked around to the entrance, complaining about unnecessary rules. Once on board, he stood in the middle of the aisle with his suitcase blocking everyone. People squeezed past him. Nobody said anything, but everyone looked annoyed. He had no idea. My friend works at a train station in Vienna. An American put his feet up on the seat across from him. A conductor walked by and told him to put his feet down. The guy said the seat was empty. The conductor said it's still not for feet. The American asked what the problem was. The conductor explained that other passengers might want to sit there. The guy looked around. The train was half empty. He said nobody was sitting there. The conductor said it's about respect for shared space. The guy put his feet down, but clearly didn't understand why it mattered. I was on a bus in Copenhagen when an American answered a phone call and started talking at normal volume. The bus was silent except for him. After a minute, someone asked him to speak quietly. He covered the phone and said he was being quiet. The person pointed out that everyone could hear him. He said he couldn't help that the bus was quiet. He kept talking. People moved away from him. When he got off, someone muttered in Danish. I asked what they said. They said, "Typical tourist." I didn't translate for him. A metro worker in Munich told me an American brought a bike onto a crowded morning train. Other passengers had to squeeze around it. Someone pointed to the bike symbol on the map showing restricted hours. The American said he didn't see any signs saying he couldn't bring it. The worker explained that bikes aren't allowed during rush hour. The guy said his bike should be fine because it's foldable. The worker said it's not folded. The guy said he didn't feel like folding it. He got a warning and had to take it off at the next station. I have a friend who drives trains in Rotterdam. An American passenger asked why there were designated quiet cars. My friend explained that some people want to travel in silence. The guy asked why they don't just use headphones. My friend said it's about creating a calm environment. The American sat in the quiet car and proceeded to unwrap loud snacks for 15 minutes. Someone asked him to stop. He said he was hungry. They said he could eat quietly. He said he was being quiet. They pointed to the rustling bag. He moved to a different car. A bus driver in Oslo told me an American tried to pay his fare with a 100 kroner note for a 30 kroner ride. The driver said he didn't have change. The guy asked what he was supposed to do. The driver suggested using a card. The American said he only had cash. The driver said he could buy a ticket at the station. The guy said the bus was already here. The driver let him on for free. The guy seemed to think this was normal and didn't thank him. The driver said Americans often expect special treatment. My cousin works at a tram stop in Warsaw. An American got on and sat in the priority seat. An elderly woman got on at the next stop. She stood near him waiting. He didn't move. Another passenger tapped his shoulder and pointed to the sign. The guy said he didn't speak Polish. They gestured to the elderly woman. He said he got there first. Someone explained in English that priority seats are for elderly and disabled passengers. He said the seat was empty when he sat down. They said it doesn't matter. He eventually moved, but seemed annoyed about it. I was working at a metro station in Lisbon. An American asked why he needed to stand behind the yellow line. I said it's for safety. He said the train wasn't even there yet. I explained that you stand behind the line until the train stops. He said that seemed excessive. I told him it's the rule. He stood right at the edge instead. When the train arrived, the conductor announced over the speaker for passengers to step back. The American looked around, realized it was directed at him, and stepped back. He told me the announcement was unnecessary. A train conductor in Geneva told me an American tried to reserve specific seats for his family by putting bags on them before the train arrived. When other passengers tried to sit, he said the seats were taken. They pointed out that nobody was sitting there. He said his family would be there soon. A conductor explained that you can't reserve seats with bags. The guy said he didn't want his family separated. The conductor said Swiss trains have reserved seating options he could have purchased. The guy said he didn't know that. His family got on at the next station and had to sit separately anyway. I was standing on a platform in Amsterdam when an American asked me if the trains have bathrooms. I said yes, most intercity trains do. He seemed relieved. Then he asked if you have to pay to use them. I said no, they're free. He looked surprised. He said that in some European countries, you pay for public bathrooms. I told him train bathrooms are usually included. He said that was good, because he never carried coins. I said most paid bathrooms accept cards now anyway. He said Europe was slowly catching up to America. I didn't mention that America also has paid bathrooms in some places. That's what most of these stories come down to. Americans expect things to work a certain way because that's how they work at home. When they don't, instead of adapting, they assume the system is broken. They complain that it's too complicated or too strict or too different. They don't realize that millions of people use these systems every day without problems. I've talked to transport workers all over Europe. They all say the same thing. American tourists are the most likely to ignore signs, break etiquette rules, and then act surprised when someone corrects them. It's not that they're trying to be difficult. They genuinely don't see what they're doing wrong. The thing about public transport is that it only works when everyone follows the same rules. You validate tickets. You stand behind the yellow line. You give up priority seats. You keep your voice down. These aren't complicated rules, but if you've never used public transport before, they might not be obvious. And that's the real issue. A lot of Americans don't grow up using public transport. They drive everywhere. So when they visit Europe and suddenly need to navigate trains and trams and metros, they're learning a completely new system. And instead of researching first, they just show up and hope it makes sense. Sometimes it does. Sometimes they figure it out. But a lot of times, they make mistakes. They miss trains because they didn't validate tickets. They get fined because they didn't know about zones. They annoy other passengers because they don't know the etiquette. The funny part is that European tourists probably make similar mistakes in America. Maybe they're confused about why Americans drive everywhere, or why cities don't have better metro systems, or why you need a car to get groceries. Every place has its quirks that only make sense if you grew up there. But public transport stories are especially entertaining because the mistakes happen in public. Everyone sees them. Everyone remembers them. And transport workers have endless stories because they see these situations every single day. So the next time you're on a train in Europe and you see an American looking confused at a ticket machine, maybe help them out. Or don't. Either way, you'll probably have a story to tell later. And trust me, these stories never